Good job with doing 37 again.
So, seeing there are no guests in the house, this seems to be working. So I just want to acknowledge all the games that you guys have been covering, girls, guys, people in general, especially on those Fridays when you're doing 4, 3, and even 2s a lot. But some of you guys have been doing 4, some have been doing 3. Thank you very much. I'll call your partner story. Make sure you call your partner. I had a game, rec games last week, and I emailed my partner, at least I thought I emailed my partner. When I got home, it was still in draft mode. I never sent. And so I missed my first game. I got woken up by Salim on a Sunday for a 120 game, 110 game I thought was at 220. And Mazina, he left the gym. Salim called him. He came back to the gym. The game got started only about 10 minutes late. I came in 7 minutes to go in the second quarter. And by the way, make sure you see me before you leave. I got something for you, sir. And so call your partner. If they don't confirm, call again, email them, text them, so you don't have that problem. Okay, we decided this year at our banquet, which is on April 20th or 21st, it's a Friday, we're going to have an auction. And it's a fake money auction. How do you get fake money? You get fake money, the number of games you did, school games. You're going to get money, you get rec games, you're going to get even more money. And then we'll have real live items to bid on. Something a little exciting if you're going to the banquet. Hot meal is going to be fried chicken. So there you go. I already know one of the prizes is a scenic flight for 2 on Kenmore Air. So that's kind of an idea. But the auction won't work unless you guys have something that you can submit as well. Email me, text me. It's going to be at the Sunset Bay Club at Shill Show, where the VFW is, or the Eagles Club is right there. Pretty exciting. So I had 10, couldn't get the internet, so again, I've been trying to do this Kahoot forever. Not there. JV etiquette, I just want to say something about that. I get there early, I fill out my evaluations, and then the JV guys just take off. They don't get the paperwork. If you have to go somewhere to another game, that's cool. Just, I don't need to see too many JV officials in here, but just stand by the door and let them hand it to you at least. We really appreciate that. And ambassador awards. This year, rather than inviting the people to our banquet, which is kind of lame, I'm going to get the ambassador awards out early and present them to either at one of their last games or especially for their own banquet. It'd be like us giving our Ironman award at the East Lake High School basketball banquet. Same thing. So I figured if we give the awards early, we can give them to them for the end of their seasons and they can present them at their own banquets. So if you haven't voted yet, school, best school, who's getting in the locker room, providing water, best coach, girls and boys side, outstanding player, girls and boys side in bass sports. We really appreciate that. All right, some basketball, 2-man game. Where do you guys stand when you're doing a 2-man game? Forget about that TTT. I should erase that. Where do you guys stand on a timeout? Two-person.
Top or bottom? 30-second or full timeout?
Both. Tell me now.
The one official stands where the ball is going to be administered, whether it's an out-of-bounds spot or a free throw. You're down at the bottom of the free throw line. The other official for 30 is in front of the center circle. For the 60, the official's in the back of the center circle. And if the throw-in's going to be in the bench area, the person who's going to administer the throw-in comes out on the court and not stand in the bench area.
All right, show us that real quick. As usual, my technology's not working.
So if we have, let's say the ball's out of bounds here, we would have one person standing here with the ball, and the other person for the 30, I'm assuming the bench and tables on this side. No, that's not it. The 30 would be in front of the circle, the 60, they'd be in the back of the circle. If it's going to be free throws, this person would be, here, because we're going to administer free throws.
questions?
I got one.
Go for it.
Injury timeout, where do we stand?
Not next to the injured player, that's for sure. You know, you would want to, dependent upon the injury, if you need to send players to their benches, then you would send the players to the benches, and one official should be monitoring all those guys. You should be discussing what the restart's going to be, whether, you know, it's a throw-in after like a made basket, or if it happened on a foul or anything like that. But, you know, the biggest thing with injury timeouts is, and you guys might want to get together and discuss, and we should always get together wherever the ball's going to be administered. That's where you should be getting together. You shouldn't both go stand in the center circle when the ball's going to be administered down here, right?
All right, thank you, Mike.
Oh, I think,
What about
Well-
three-person? When we stand on three-person?
well, for three-person, I just was asked for three-person. Same deal, except for with the person who's going to be administering the ball, they're at the spot where the ball's going to be administered. And then the two other officials, for a 30-second, they're at the top of the keys, right? And for the full, they're at the bottom block.
Is that block opposite table, Mike, or is that?
Yes, blocks opposite the table. Great question. And then when the first horn goes off, they go and inform the coaches that that's the first horn. And then you go to where you're supposed to be when the play restarts. You don't hang out in the huddle and say, come on guys, let's go. And then the second horn goes off and you're still standing in the huddle. Come on, let's go. Because right now you're not in a position to where the other official can administer a throw, and if we need to put the ball down to get things going. So don't be hanging out in those huddles when the second horn is going off. Get in position.
Question back there?
Yes, being a crew chief in football, we have a pretty good protocol about restarting, you know, 8 cars, things like that, because we do have delays for 8 cars. And
Speak up.
considering what's happening this year in the NFL and even on our own courts, what is the protocol for restarting the game? When would you ever consider not restarting the game, and who makes that call?
I would almost think game management would need to make the call on whether or not we're going to play the game or not. You know, certainly if it's something like we've had with an official, right, then, you know, that can, you know, obviously determine. But in the end, if it's the player or something like that, or even a coach, we're going to get with game management and make a decision that way. It's not going to be a decision that just the officials solely make, especially if we're talking about not playing the game.
I might just turn from Mike. This is Ben over here. You can't see me. There is a scenario though that the officiating crew got together and determined there was like an unsafe situation with the court or with the facility. We could certainly tell game management if that can't be rectified, we would suspend the game.
And if it's a member of our crew that has a medical emergency, is that our call then?
That's difficult.
I didn't hear that
If
question.
it was a member of our crew that had a medical emergency, is it our call? I think that we could, in that scenario, technically game management needs to make that call, but we certainly, it is highly unlikely game management is not going to take our request.
Right. You know, if it is an emotional, like I'm tore up, I'm not going to be able to officiate this game right with all this in my head, I'm sure the game management will.
And by the way, if they did it, call John.
Right. Well, I'm not worried how I would deal with it, but there's really, I've seen no official guidance on stuff like this, and as you saw it for the first time in the NFL, they actually didn't restart a game. You know, they've always restarted a game, even if somebody leaves in an 8 car, and we have always done that in high school football too. So we've had fresh discussions over that here, you know, after what happened in the NFL. So I think we're going to have traditional guidance in September for football, but I just didn't know where we stood in basketball.
Yeah, I don't think those discussions are happening, so I would say they're most likely to happen after this season.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. I have a clip here. You normally would blow it up for you, but like I said, technology is not working here today. I don't want to mess this thing up because we have some important stuff coming up here. So we'll Okay, and we'll play it again. And this is kind of, watch it from a perspective of you watching the offensive person. And just because he made a call doesn't mean that's the call you're going to make. One more time, look at it from the defensive, watching the defense. Do you see a difference? I kind of brought this up earlier in the year. It has a big perspective on what you're going to call, what you're looking at. So what do you guys think about this call?
Block.
How many people have a block? Raise your hand. How many people have a charge? One person. All right. They called block on the floor, and I think when you break it down and I blow it up for you in slow motion, it looks like just at the very end, you did this with the knee, which is very hard. And that's going to be hard to see if you're looking at the offensive guy. You won't see that leg going out, right? That was the only point there. This one's hard to see, but watch this off ball here, right here. You see something happen there?
Run it again without the laser pointer.
Down the bottom. On the foul.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's definitely a push.
You think that's a push? How come there's no call? There's no call on that.
Well, the lead guy wasn't.
We're in transition. We're in transition. One more time. We're in transition. Who's on the ball right now? Who's got the ball there? Who's got the all players? What's the center looking at? Hey, all right, it's all right. We missed calls, so just a reminder. Talk about your free games. Transition. What's going to happen? Okay. We're ready for our first candidates today. And voting will open up later after this meeting. You have a 72-hour window. If you can't remember what your candidate said, you can go back to our internet, our website, and go to members, and all their bios are there. All the constitutional changes are also there. How many people have looked at those already? Not one person? One person, a board member. That's it. That's not very good. So what we're going to do here, we have 2 minutes per candidate. They're going to talk about why they're running for the board. We have 7 candidates for 4 positions. Going off the board, for your information, if you don't know, it's going to be Mr. Benton, President Benton, Mr. Federley, Miss Corcoran, and Mr. Emmons, right here. Mr. Emmons? Those are 4 going off, 4 coming on. So, we drew at the beginning of the board meeting what order you would go in. It's not the order you sent to me. It's a random order. Right? Hey, by the way, sir, Mr. Horse Race Cock Man, you look good on TV. So our first candidate is Mike Saylor. Mike, you just have 2 minutes to decide what you want us, why you're running for the board, basically. That's that simple.
I want to.
Okay, good reason. Come on up. Tell them.
Mike, use the mic. Use the mic.
Can you hear me?
Here's Mike.
Use the mic.
I've been doing this for 15 years now. I've been kind of pestered for about the last 5 or 6 years to try and kind of give back. So I figured I would take my turn, see if I can help make things better or get back to where we were at some point. And I just want to see how the board runs. Is that it? You good?
I like that.
You're under your time. Matt Clark, Mr. Matt Clark.
Oh, is that me?
Come on down.
I didn't know I had to get up there.
Wow, all that food on the the table out there. It's yours. You bought it. Take it with you.
So, been a part of 4 different associations across the state, 3 different sports. I think I have a different perspective and can really help move this thing along. Yeah, that's about all I got. I didn't have a lot prepared today, so, but I do think through experiences, 10 years officiating across the state, we'll be able to help with the challenges we're facing and move those forward. So.
Up next, Mr. Mike, and Mike has a spokesperson.
Okay, my name's Tryla, and just pretend I'm Mike. Slightly taller. Taller than you are. And then I'm a way better official, right?
Right.
If I would be him, so pretend I'm him. He sent me this, and clearly, since I'm a newbie, I had no idea that this was, ridiculous. So, he thanks the PNBOA members for your presence today. Apologies that he's not here, but he's doing something with his wife. Happy wife is happy life. So, he's running for the board to continue to build upon the fine work that the present board has done. Thank you, the board, for your dedication and hard work. Greatly appreciate your time and efforts. His passion is officiating, and he's dedicated to improvement. He wants to make every official better. For those that know him, he delivers, and he will make every effort to achieve all of his goals. He envisions adding some study groups for mid-range officials, strategically located north, south, east, and west. The smaller study groups would be periodically led by our veteran officials and evaluators. These groups, of course, would discuss situations, watch video, and learn the ropes of navigating the PNBOA system, build relationships that are fruitful and long-lasting. He's passionate about expanding and improving the effectiveness of our video evaluation system. He also wants to have a better opportunity to instruct our officials on how to better gain and watch those videos to glean information from them. We also need to train our veteran officials on how to give constructive feedback and make a positive and informative impact on the new entrance to PNBOA. And in closing, he's now retired from his architecture career and can commit to making the PNBOA the best association in the state. He has the passion and the desire and has the time. And I've worked with Mike as well as Scott the last couple of years on the PNBOA eval committee, and I find him to be a very dedicated human being, quality human being that does what he says he's going to do. And I appreciate that he's willing to put this time in now to the association. So, thank you.
Thank you very much for speaking up for Mike. Next up, David Hart.
Not here.
So check out David. There he is. He'll be online. Where do you go to find it? Members only tab. It's right there. I'd show you. I might be able to show you, but I have no internet for some reason. Mazavita.
That's what I'm going to bring to the board, to listen. That's the first thing I'm going to do, because actually, I'm running for the board to represent you all. And to do that, I've got to listen. And that's really kind of the main things. But board members are a servant, and I will be a servant of you. So somewhere we have to kind of hear from you what it is that you want from the board. I have some ideas, but we've all, have ideas, but I will also be willing to listen, build consensus, find medium ground. Everything that I want to do, or that we might want to do, is not going to happen. That's just the reality of life. But there's something that if we build consensus, find middle ground, we can continue to move. And I'm trying to pledge to move to whatever that space is, not to go somewhere with one or whatnot. What else? Yeah, I was on the SOWB vice president. I've been president of numerous boards, profits and nonprofits, for kids, for businesses. So that's it. So thank you for your time. And
Thank you.
and we're gonna do some fun. All right. Fun back.
Right on. Brian.
Okay, I'm Brian. I'm the tallest candidate, I believe. I am running for the board because I have opinions, and when you're involved in an organization like this, I think if you have opinions, you should put your time where your mouth is. So that's why I'm running for the board. That's my background. I probably have a lot more experience being on boards than I do as an official, and I'm pretty good at bringing it to places where people want to take them. That's all I got.
I'm going to hand you the mic. Sorry, Brian. Randy, I think Randy has a spokesperson. He has it?
I can just say Randy's been great for the apprentice program this year, so I can speak for him. That's my 2 cents. So,
Thank you very much.
yeah, no problem.
All right, those are our 7 candidates. Where can you find out more information about them if you forget?
Members only.
How long do you get to vote when voting opens? How many are you voting for? That's a good question. How many do you get to vote for?
4.
You actually vote for 4? Or you vote for 3 and then you get... Vote for 4. That was a good question. I liked it. How many people that are running, that are here, raise your hand if you've been on the PNBOA board before. No, that are running. Phil, you running? You coming back, Phil? Yeah, Phil's coming back. Right in.
Just Mike. I'm still Mike.
Okay, this is Mike still. Oh, you're just saying that you're on,
You
he's
said
on
he's
board.
been on the board before.
Gotcha. All right. So we're going to move into our board reports, and then we're going to come back and finish up with the constitutional bylaw changes. Just in case they get long-winded, I don't want to keep you here longer because they're all online. We're at online?
Members.
Thank you. So we'll get right into our business, and we'll have any board people have any business that wants to come up first? I don't have an order here. Sorry, John.
Just a quick one for me. I just want to apologize to everyone that I'm leaving now. It's Lunar New Year. Happy.
There's some extensive history I was reading about the Lunar New Year opposed to the Gregorian New Year, 2 versions. Quite interesting. I'll get into it. Is that Rod Marr up there?
Bro, why you gotta do me like that?
Because you have the greatest name since sliced bread.
They're not bothering anybody, you got this stuff
I got the brightest sweatshirt.
It's the orange shirt.
All right, Jake, what do you have? Jake is our apprentice chair.
Board report.
Oh, no, I had nothing.
That's beautiful.
Keep working hard and have humility. That's what I had.
Mr. Emmons?
Contact your partner. Remember that you are being watched from the moment you park your car in the parking lot until you leave the gym and drive away. We don't need more emails coming our way about behavior, bad behavior sometimes. Calls are subjective. Be good people, stay between the lines, call in your area. Have fun.
Good work. Here's Mr. Scott Betterly.
Real quick, if any varsity officials need observation forms before you leave tonight, come see me. I got some for you.
Call him Mr. Arizona. Here's Mike Lloyd, our rec chair.
Hi, everybody. Hey, just to piggyback off of what Dave says, even in rec ball, confirm with your partners. That's an important step. I think a lot of people think, well, it's rec, I don't have to do it. No, the same things we require for school, we want you to do the same things for rec. Same way with filling out technical foul. If we have technical foul situations, you need to fill one out for Salima. If we have an ejection, we need to send that to Salima. If we have an ejection in a game, you need to find the game manager and make sure that that person is taken care of before we restart the games. Okay? And that's the important part too. When you show up to your rec games, please find the gym manager of the gym at the time. Okay? So if you do have a situation, you know who you go to. Don't assume that there's nobody there, because there should be somebody there. That's part of the contract, that they need to have a gym supervisor there that we can go to when we have issues. Have a great season, everybody. Oh, yes, Steve.
So, since it's been an issue a few games this year, who should, just for everybody, I already know, but for everybody else, who should be initiating that communication, how long before a game?
What do you mean?
You said everybody goes to communicate with your partner, and that's all we hear.
I would say between 72 and 24 hours is what you should be doing. If it's prior to 72 hours, you know, if they can do it the week before, people forget. There's a lot going on. If you're doing it 24 hours or less than 24 hours, don't do it with an email. Do it with a text or a phone call.
And who should initiate that?
Well, with rec, it's tough because there's really no crew chief. So I would say the veteran needs to initiate it. But if you're a new guy, you can always reach out to it. There's no one person who should be doing it. In the school games, of course, the crew chief is responsible. But again, if you haven't heard from that crew chief, you two reach out, say, make sure everybody's on the same page on when we're supposed to be there and what's going on. And with that said, if you're working the JV game ahead of time on that crew, let your partners know. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I was looking around the room, I saw lots of people here I've been seeing on TV lately. My man down here, my men over here. Sometimes I see them working. It's looking really good. I also noticed there's like 4 past presidents of the PNBO in here. Raise your hand if you've been a past president. There's one here, there's one here, there's one there, there's one there, there's one here. 5, not bad, so pretty good. And we have a bunch of new crew that could have that title in the future. Speaking of that, me and Mr. President Ben's going to come up here, but I'll just sneak this in real quick. Social media, stay off it when you're talking about basketball. You never know who's listening. Just stay off it, don't make comments. Yes, sir, my favorite partner.
My question was just about the apprentice class, or how the recruiting is going, and what are we looking at in terms of numbers for newbies?
Yeah, Rick, we resume our classes tomorrow. Tomorrow's our second of 5 classes, and we had 17 people show up to that class, so it was better turnout for this class, and expecting more bodies as well tomorrow. And sometimes just because of all the communication that goes on, what happens is people that already have experience show up, and they didn't get communicated in the right way, and then I pass them to Salima. So we're seeing a slowly but surely increase in numbers. Right.
Thanks, Jay.
I have if somebody comes on like now, and so in your 3rd week, and we still get them in and get them started?
Yeah, so historically, it's been a pretty strict process, but with where we're at with our officials right now, it's a little different. We're having grace with certain people, but at the same time, it's more of just a conversation between myself, Randy, John, Salima, and finding out where this person would best be suited.
All right, because in the last week, had a kid at the table and a parent in the stands that started.
Hey, the mic's not for you guys, the mic is for the recording, basically. All right, we're going to have Ben come up here in a second, but let's just give away my freebies here first. First ticket drawn, I think I had to put your name on it. So, can I read that? Asen Agdong Can you read that for me?
That's not you. Hey, Rock.
That's,
Mix 'em up.
Amanda Dixon outside.
Mix them up.
James. James P. Oh, come over here. Hustle, you won. San Francisco guy. Shoe envelope, you picked. Hey, no feelings. Scott Moe. Where are these people? They put the name on here and left? It's like ours? Okay. Gibson.
Yes.
You won.
I'm going to share with you, see.
I must take the envelope so I can share.
You won.
Wait, what name did you say?
Augustus. Agustavo.
What was the name?
Where are you taking us, man?
It was you. Come on down. Hustle up. Beat him. Joyce.
I'll take a
Alright.
tickets.
What do you want? We had an extra whistle. All right, here comes Benton as I give away these socks to Leslie. Do you wear socks, Leslie?
You gotta use the end of quarter, huh?
Barefoot bread.
Hey everybody, happy Sunday. I'm gonna go now because you can thank our good friend Randy Venters. There's a long list of proposals for the Constitution and bylaws, so it's gonna be a fun little process. First thing I would do is thank everybody who's running for the board, and the current board. It is a difficult, time-consuming, but really, really important role that you serve. And just stepping up and offering your service to the association is something that we should all value and are grateful for. So I just want to say thank you to the folks who got up. So I just got a couple things, and they're a bit of challenge, but I know John left, so I don't know if you got a chance to remind everybody, if you want to work in the playoffs, the RTO requirements are up, and you got to get them done. You got to get them done before the end of the season to make sure you're eligible to work. So John will probably send that email out about 18 more times between now and January 31st to make sure you get that done.
Can I just add to that too? Playoff season starts on February 1st, and make sure you update your blocks in the postseason. Your blocks do not carry over unless you choose it, so you may be wide open on that particular group. So please update your blocks.
And if you are new to, if you've never done RTO requirements, you've never done playoffs before, that will not show up until you complete the RTO requirements. It won't show up in our group.
So Salim, after you answered my question, when does the school season, regular season officially end?
It depends on the league.
Yeah.
Depend on the league,
Yeah.
So the first playoff dates could be February 1st.
For one league, but for the next league,
For the next
it
league, it should
could be February 8th.
Gotcha. Thank
Yeah, I think a couple.
The brackets are different.
Yeah, I was just looking, I think like a couple of the District 2 tournaments are on February 6th, like it could be all over the map.
Okay, thank you.
So just get it done is the.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
And set up your availability like you normally would. If you're available, you're available. If you're not, you're not. Any more questions on that? Okay, I want to bring up something. I'm not going to show a video because it doesn't really matter what officials were involved, but a couple weeks ago we had a coach who was ejected from a game. And the coach received 2 technical fouls in rapid succession. And then, not rapid actually, over the course of like a couple minutes. It wasn't actually that rapid. And following that ejection, that coach walked out to center court and got in the face of one of our officials. And I've been getting lots of questions about this from different people. How should the crew have handled this? How should the game management have handled this? I will note right away that we've already had a conversation with both the district and this particular school about how we feel about how game management handled it, which was they did not get the coach off the court. I think somebody pointed out in our board meeting the perfect way to think about this is once that coach has been ejected, they're now a spectator. Their game management's problem. They need to be delivered off the court immediately.
However, the biggest thing I want to talk about from our perspective is, as a crew, how we support each other in this situation. So in this situation, one crew member calls a technical foul, the crew gets together to discuss the technical foul, the coach comes out to center court and is yelling at the crew, and the original calling official is waiting for one of their partners to deal with this situation, so he does not have to be the one to give the second technical foul. That doesn't happen. He ends up having to be the one to give the second technical foul. And once that happens, they back up toward midcourt, and then that coach comes out and gets in his face. And so everything the coach did in this situation was wrong. Everything the coach did in this situation was wrong. But we could have handled this situation better to protect our crewmate. And in this situation, one of those partners walking over and ushering that coach back to the bench, and if that coach doesn't go, having that partner be the one getting the technical foul, adds a lot of credibility to what we do, protects our crew member from getting screamed at. Now we have two different officials who have given this person a technical foul, right? And just puts us in a more cohesive position as a crew. So I just want you all to think about that, about when you're doing a game, how you engage and support each other on the floor, right? Now, the one other thing I want to mention here is, the crew handled it, once the coach came out to yell at the original calling official, the crew handled it quite well. They stood and waited for game manager to come out. But, I will underscore this but, if game management hadn't dealt with that situation, it's perfectly acceptable and actually expected that you can walk right out of there until they do. You go find them, right? And if they're not going to deal with it, you get out of there. You are not here to be beaten up on by a head coach. This is a long tenured veteran head coach that knew exactly what he was doing, and you knew he was going to get away with it. And we're making it clear that's not acceptable, but remember, you're not out there to be screamed at. And once somebody has been ejected from the game and you've done your job,
We as crew chiefs have to talk about, even if it's just 30 seconds in the locker room before we go, right? When we go over that pregame and we kind of do the yada, 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 stand up primaries, let's be patient, da, 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 da. We should definitely talk about, if we have the technical foul situation, right? And I call the first one, right? Craig, how are we going to handle the second one? Leslie, what are we going to do here? So if we talk about that, then we're not caught up in the emotion of the moment, and we have a strategy in place. So it doesn't have to take longer than a minute, but if we just talk about it, then in the heat of that battle, when the coach is on fire and the gym's on fire, and everybody's emotions are here, we've made the decision while we were still down here. Sorry.
no, that's perfect, Quincy.
Are you changing topics?
No, I was actually going to pick up on what Rod just said right on the piece, but you can go first.
Well, no, because I've got a slightly different question. So
Okay. Let me just finish this, what you said. Because I was going to say this a little bit later, but the point that Rob was just making about your demeanor and where you're at, I want to remind you, a technical foul is just a foul, right? And I think sometimes we get wrapped up in the idea that technical fouls are really emotional. They're not. They just mean that somebody has violated the rules. Just a different rule than a common foul. And I think it's helpful to remember that oftentimes a technical foul is preceded by a warning. So hopefully, particularly a coach already knows what's coming, right? And you give a technical foul unemotionally, you talk to your partner about what happened, you adjudicate it appropriately, and you move on. And everybody knows, right? And that's the hope, is that it brings the temperature down. I know that doesn't always happen, but it can be helpful from our perspective if we are down here when we do that.
If you break your fingers giving the tea, you might have a little too much emotion. Judy Roberts.
So how did, what were the consequences to the coach for not being appropriate? And what did we and or the WOA do in terms of representing the officials?
Just because what is the WOA?
Steve, do you mind if I talk about my second situation and then answer your question? Because
Feel free.
The next step would happen at the same time, okay? So the second thing I want to make sure everyone's aware of, because this has come up from several different officials have brought this forward, and some of you probably know, we've been having some challenges at Franklin High School this year, and so I'll just put the numbers out for you. As of last night, when there were two flagrant fouls for fighting at Franklin High School, they have 14 technical fouls called this year in the first 6 weeks of the season. For some context, we have about 170 total technical foul reports. So those are not all technical fouls. Some of those are like incident reports. But so about 10% of a little under 10% of total reports come from one school. I can speak to it because I've personally experienced it, as have at least two other board members have been part of the situation. And so it's not just the technical fouls that are the challenge, it is the nature of them. And so they have mostly been for taunting. The situation I experienced included a player running down the stairs after our crew. The last two last night included openly fighting, two players fighting. And so John and I initiated a conversation, basically demanded a conversation, with both Franklin and with the Seattle School District and Metro, because Pat McCarthy from Metro, from the district is part of Metro, to discuss that and discuss the situation that you just brought up. So first on Franklin, there's been an agreement that that school is actually internally levying a higher punishment for technical fouls because they recognize they have a problem. Last year, by the way, they had 0. So they've come from 0 to this number. So I just want you guys to know the second thing that should be happening.
You said internally they're doing what now?
And they're basically if you get one, you can get suspended immediately, depending on your history now. Within, like, if you get one in a game.
Okay.
So the player, go ahead, Lance.
I'm sorry, is it the boys and girls team or both combined?
Cameron is doing it across both teams. The boys team has been a bigger problem.
Okay.
Yes.
Does that include all levels?
Yes. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you which number it is, but they have one player that has now 6, I believe. 5 or 6. 5. And he's one of the guys that got ejected last night. So, so that's why we're asking them to do this, because we're having a situation where crews are having problems going there, right? We're having a recurring issue. And so they're doing that on the one. The other thing they're going to be doing is moving the officials' locker room out of the boys' locker room so that we don't have situations where officials are in the stairwell at the same time as players again. That's clearly a jump. So I wanted to put that out there. So this is part of the same meeting that we have with Pat, with Tara Davis, and with Cameron Dollar. And I will admit to you that the response on the coach who was ejected, the suspension was
Disappointing at the very
disappointing is the nicest word I can think of. Yeah. He got one game, which is what you get when you get ejected, right? Exactly. And I asked specifically, what do you have to do to get more? And the response was basically you'd have to physically attack somebody. And so I basically asked him, we have to wait for one of our officials to be attacked by a coach in order for a coach to see him. And I think a chunk of you know who this coach is. This person doesn't, this isn't the first time this has happened, right? And so I do intend to spend more time with Pat McCarthy, and John is going to talk to Todd on Monday as a follow-up about this, about why this didn't elicit a more severe response. But I'll tell you, I will be perfectly honest with the group here. I don't have a ton of confidence that the WA is or the WIA is gonna do anything tough, right? So I do think this is a conversation. There was a conversation in the board meeting about whether or not we should have written agreements with leagues that would impose different penalties for situations like that.
But we can fix it ourselves, as every official to say, guess what, we're not going to that school.
Absolutely.
That is an option. Yep.
We're not going.
Absolutely.
They'll stop then.
We have the power. There's not many referees. And what Mike says, I mean, it's a high school athletic conference. That's contest. That's all it is. All across King County. You have a school go above and beyond like that, or a long-time coach. It's time for us to stand up and say, we're not going to service your school. We have proof here of what, 15 Ts? The rest of the
You're mixing up the two situations.
Different schools.
Different school. Different situation.
Okay, but I think both are fair.
Same concept.
But I think you're both making the correct point, right? And that is potentially was part of the discussion, was we continue to send crews in here, and that's actually what led to the moving of the locker room, for example, at Franklin was. It's also a safety issue. It's not just these players getting on. And to my situation, actually, it had a lot more to do with the coaches, right? So how are you managing the coaches in this situation? So go ahead, Rick.
If you don't mind me asking, so you've got the coaches, Cameron is the brand new
AD there, yeah.
Franklin. You got Pat McCarthy. What are
the roles?
No, the responses. Was Cameron concerned?
Yes, and I was just about to say something that I think will help.
Cameron was very concerned, and Cameron very specifically asked me for some data. And that's how I know that they didn't have any last year and they have so many this year. I can compare them to Metro. They now have about 3 times as many as the next highest school in Metro.
Wow.
And so what he asked for was for me to arm him with information he could use to go back and make requests and talk to his coaches and talk to his players and talk to his administrators to understand what are the next steps they should take. Now, this meeting occurred before last night's objections, so we're now have to follow up with them about now what are you going to do, right? And so that part of it is a consistent follow-up that we are going to have with Cameron. Actually, we are planning to talk on either Monday or Tuesday already about something else, and so we're going to continue that. I think Maz is here with him first.
Yeah, I mean, not to turn this in, I don't know, I don't feel great about saying we're not gonna go there for the kids, but have we written as a board something officially to say, hey, we as a membership are now looking at, we might not be able to get officials there. We're now struggling with who's going to your school, and put it officially, because that can then go to all the different boards that are out there. If we don't have something official, and it's all these talks that we're having, then I don't know how much teeth we got.
No, I think that's fair, and the answer to your question is no, we haven't sent a written, other than here's the information that we have, and it is highly concerning, we have a safety concern for our officials. We haven't made that next step about we're having trouble with crews going there. We have not.
Yeah, at a meeting, some of our officials, you know, really spoke strongly about not going out there.
Yeah, yeah. I would actually be fine with doing that, and I would say you're not the first person that's made that request.
You got video on that?
Yeah, there's video.
On which one? I actually have video on both.
On the ejection and all the.
There's about 12 angles of video on the ejection. It's quite clear. Yeah.
How about, do we have heightened security at these schools?
Yeah, Franklin, I think, has doubled their police presence. Yes. And I will remind you this about this. Remember, our responsibility is to find game management as soon as you get there, and they have committed to ensure that we're escorted from door to door. Now we have to report if that doesn't happen, right?
From door to where?
From the time we walk in to the time we walk out.
What about when we walk from the locker room to our car?
That's right.
Parking lot?
No, not once we walk out of the building.
So we're screwed when we walk out of the parking lot, where I've actually had parents waiting out in the parking lot before.
There?
Not there. It wasn't in Metro.
You should report that, right?
I did report it.
Yeah.
It was a couple of years ago before you were on that.
And that's why we all walk out together.
We did walk out together, that's why we were worried about him brawling.
Yeah, we need to know about that, right? So we can do the same thing that Maz just talked about, right? We shouldn't send our crews back there.
Well, it was no.
I'm not privy to anything the board's discussed. I'm fairly certain that you guys have discussed probably what I'm going to bring out. But my experience can go from football. And we've had already an official attack at a middle school, hospitalized. We've had other situations in other sports. And we, on the football side, decided we need to be a little more proactive, not reactive, in having a policy that, for instance, if a member of my crew gets assaulted in a football game, that person is leaving in handcuffs. We are not going to wait for an investigation. Right? These are policies that we, I think, as an association, need to be out in front of so that we know how we're going to respond if things start to escalate. Because around the country they have, we've been pretty lucky here that they haven't forgotten.
I assume you mean we would empower our officials to call the police on the spot. Is that what you're saying?
We can't put someone in handcuffs.
But our crews are absolutely, if that's something were to rise to the level of what Mike was just talking about, call the police.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
It's in our rec contract too,
Yeah,
to do
it is.
that.
we need to be giving guidance to the folks out there so they know how we expect them to respond.
I will reiterate that point onto the association. I think that's fine.
If ever I'm saying, call 911.
Well, yeah.
In the case of the coach, how does the decision-making work? You mentioned, is it the school's decision, is it the
To
league's
suspend him?
decision? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like,
So this is what I would, when Steve made the point about disappointing, this is where I was disappointed. The way it works is, well, one, ejection is an automatic one-game suspension. So anything more than that goes through a process that starts at the league level, so this was the Metro League. I mean, the school could impose expanded punishment if it wanted to, but it starts at the league level, it goes potentially through the school district involved, right? So it's the Seattle School District. It goes up to Todd at the WOA and then the WIA gets involved too. But they have a general process, and unless there's some reason that they want to consider something more, the only thing you could do is appeal it, and you're probably not going to win. But it's unlikely there's going to be any more of the process to expand.
The league isn't pushing it any farther.
That's right.
Can
So if it's
we
someone
not
like
appeal
a-
to Cindy?
A first-year coach, they could possibly push it up, but if it's someone in there with 25 years old, we're just gonna let it.
I'm not going to get into how they do it from a seniority standpoint.
But you
No,
can't.
it's at a private
come on.
school, so it's like, if,
We could not appeal a suspension of somebody. We cannot
Directly,
do that.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying, they can't appeal.
Okay, I just want to move it because on the stars waving at me, and I know you're like.
No, it's not waving, it's just, in Lake Washington School District, if you're an athlete, if you get ejected the second time, you're out of the program.
Useful. There's also some leagues that suspend you for longer than one game if you get kicked out. So I want to, because Rick asked this question, I want to reiterate something. I said there's about 170 reports up to this point. I know that there's been more called than that, because I know some people who have called and have reported. In our conversation with Franklin, this data was critical. It was really important for us to know how many technical fouls have been called on this school, who they had been called on, when did it happen. All this information is really important. So I just want to emphasize, please keep filling those reports out. And they are not just for technical fouls. If you have a major incident, but for some reason there wasn't a technical foul, fill it out. That's how we find out about it, right? Let us know. Part of that is we've had a couple scenarios where officials have reached directly out to schools, athletic directors. That's a no. Call John, call Selena, right? That is not just about us not wanting you to do that. It's a big, large part to protect you. It allows us to go through a process that is clearer, easier for us, and it takes you out of the situation so it's not just a personal issue between you and a school. So just please, do not do that. Call John, call Selena. Keep filling out the technical foul reports. Last thing on technical fouls, last weekend I sent out this email, I hope everybody saw. Taunting is like 3/4 of the technical fouls that have been called. I don't know what's going on other than we all know where AAU and et cetera have gone. We probably saw some, I saw a social media clip last night of somebody dunking on somebody and walking over the guy and the official just shipping it and not calling a technical foul. I wasn't here, I wasn't in Seattle, but I'm just saying, it's common, right? Taunting leads to fighting, right? That's why we call it. And so I just underscore, emphasize, or keep calling it. When you see taunting is an unsportsmanlike act, call it what it is. It's a technical foul. Call it. We have to keep calling it. That was a lot about T's and et cetera. I just wanted to sort of really emphasize that stuff. We continue our regular conversations with the district and with our leagues and our ADs to make sure that any concerns are being heard, that we're passing along information. Once we I totally agree with you. Giving that written piece is good, and so you just reiterating what you can do if you feel unsafe, basically, is the right thing to do. And so I'll make sure that I go ahead and report it. From our perspective, just the last thing. It can be difficult, but I want us to really think about how we're showing up in these situations. I think it's getting concerning, and we have some fears, some safety concerns. It's really important for us to remember that we can stay down here throughout the situation, and that we have tools and the ability to walk out of it, right? And if you're starting to feel uncomfortable and unsafe, walk out of it, get out of there. Before you get up here, get out of that situation, okay? And we've had some situations where that, I will say that tone has come from us the other way. And we hold a high ground, and if we cede it, it puts us in a tough spot, right? So let's make sure, if you feel yourself coming up here, go talk to your partner. If you're a partner or a crew chief and you see one of your partners getting up here, go get them, right? Let's make sure that we don't get to that place, okay?
well, I think another thing too is, in this day and age, there's too many of us working way too many nights and having to deal, in some high-level games, and you're working 6 nights a week or 5 nights a week doing high school basketball, and you're doing it 5-6 weeks in a row. It makes it a grind, and sometimes you cannot be totally focused for that big game in some altercation because you're there every night, and that makes it hard for officials. Back in the day, when Scott and Cindy's guys have been around 30, 40 years, they probably worked out 2 or 3 nights a week, and that was it. They did 1 or 2 games And now you got guys working, 3, 4 games a night, and to be sharp, as Rod Meyer was stating, it's hard sometimes for people who are doing a lot of games to have that knowledge and be in that game spot on where nothing's gonna, go crazy, because you get into a repetition of doing a lot of games and not having enough referees. It makes it concerning for us.
What's your solution?
Solution, I would say double the game fee.
I think I made the list
Block
higher.
yourself out.
And you can learn how to use the arbiter block.
Exactly.
That's
You're
part of
true.
what-
All that was true. All that's true.
Okay, so in this particular situation with Franklin, if you have Franklin in the future, outside of anything that we talked about tonight, on how to handle them and such, is there anything else that we need to know?
Don't go in there with preconceived notions.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. So there's two things I would say. One is, that's right, I'm giving this information mostly so you understand how we deal with this situation, okay? It's important, it's the reason I didn't tell you the numbers of the players, I didn't tell you the school of the other coach I was projected. It's not useful to walk in there with this information, other than to know you're in a school where, there might be, emotions might run high, which is something you would talk about every game, right? And how you're gonna manage that, not, I'm going after this guy because I know he has a history, okay? So I would say, go in there like you're normally refereeing a basketball game, just make sure that you find game management the second you walk in the door, just like you're supposed to do in every gym, right? And make sure you're clear with them if they're not with you, that they need to be with you. And if they're not, then you let John know, and we'll manage that, right, if they're not kind of keeping to their words. That's like to me, that's the biggest thing, right? Is to sort of make sure that you're following the process that we already have in place. The second thing I would bring up, because we did just talk about this in the